What is going on, everybody? We are here for another episode of Behind the Fire, our new podcast series, which is launching. I'm here with the first leader of Fresh Fire. What? That's right. It's early. Don't start. People. I don't know how many people know this, but it all started in the belly of Pastor Solomon. So he is back with us for our 10th year anniversary. And we are going to have a good conversation about how everything got started and all that great stuff. I want to start here because I don't think people, the narrative in churches is like it's always easy to sort of like pit people against each other, right? I think that's something that you and I have always suffered with.
Absolutely.
And I always tell people that I credit you for being the person that sort of woke up my love for ministry. Like my bishop, he selected me, my pastor ordained me, but you were the one that sort of ignited me. So I don't know if I've ever said that to you personally, but you helped me understand how, and it's gonna sound crazy arrogant, but how good I was at ministry.
That's
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know what
it's
I mean.
not arrogant. It might be arrogant in some places.
In certain places,
Yeah,
but I love ministry, and a lot of it came from being able to watch you do ministry.
Wow.
So thank you for that.
Wow.
What was the conversation on Fresh Fire starting? How did it, like, what did that, because no one knows. Bishop got up one Sunday and was like, Solomon's gonna be the youth pastor, and people was like, what, where, how? What was the conversation behind the scenes on how it got started?
Well, I remember sitting in the office with Pastor Depp, well, Bishop Depp now, and Pop. We were sitting up there, we were talking, and I remember him saying that Pastor Deb at that time had a vision for the youth, and that she could not do it because being executive pastor, well, senior pastor at that time, and trying to do the youth, it just wasn't gonna work. It wasn't cohesive. So he said, son, I want you to be the youth pastor. And I said, okay. You know, it was different for me because I remember I was sitting at the table now with my pastor, who used to be my actual youth pastor.
Right.
So that in itself, it was a conversation that was like, wow.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what does it entail? And
that part, let me tell you, people take promotions. People take promotions without asking what it go with it.
Yeah, I wanted to know, like, okay, what does that look like?
Right.
Does it look like the youth department I was under when she was the youth pastor?
So what was that youth department like?
Wow. That youth department, it was an amazing youth department. I mean, you know, in that day and time, of course, we didn't have access to everything we have access to now. We were very limited. But it was very fiery.
Yeah.
You know, I think at that time, because all we knew was church.
Right.
That was the focus.
Yeah.
So I remember having the restaurants and the arcade room and all these things that a lot of churches are doing now. We had already experienced those days back in the early 1990s and even 1980s, because Bishop had a vision for all this stuff, and Pastor Deb was so good at it. You know, even to today, Pastor Deb, Bishop Deb is still considered like this, pastor for the young people.
Yeah, and I think one of the things too that we always had a thriving children's department, youth department. We're not the same age. I was on the children's stuff when because I don't want people to be confused. We're not the same age.
Okay.
So he was experiencing the youth, and we always had a thriving children's department. I remember we used to sit there, and the children choir went all the way back.
That's right.
We took that whole section.
Absolutely.
The youth choir would have to take the whole choir stand.
That's
We did all of that.
That's right.
So we fast forward to all these years now. You're sitting at a table with the person who used to be your youth pastor. She's now your pastor. What was your feelings when they said this is what they wanted you to do?
Well, one, I was definitely honored. I mean, you have to look at it from the standpoint of this is Pilgrim Church, the legendary Pilgrim Church. So although a son of the house, it's still an honor to be able to be asked to do such a magnitude of ministry here at home. But I was also a bit afraid.
Okay.
Because I knew the restrictions and I knew me.
Yeah.
My vision, although it wasn't my vision, they said it was my vision, and they wanted me to go forth with the vision God gave me. But, I did.
That was one of the questions I've always had too, because by the time you came back home, right, you were someone who had already traveled the world. Was there anything in that moment that felt like a demotion?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I've always
Absolutely.
wondered.
Yeah, it was
and these are things that people don't like to admit. But
Oh my God,
so what
yeah.
made you submit to that, even though it may have looked like to the world, like you taking a step back from what you have been doing? You had, by that point, pastored churches,
Yes.
right? You had been preaching all over. Then you came back home, and they asked you to be a youth pastor.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
That piece alone was, of course, I had a lot of friends, co-laborers who were like, Solomon, what are you doing?
Right.
You know, that's like you said, a demotion, like you're Garelle Solomon, not to, you know, but in my head, I'm like, yeah, I get it. But for me, it was more so of, man, this is home. This
Right.
is home, and it's my dad, you know, asking me to come back home and to help who I consider my mom,
Right.
to literally advance ministry. And I knew she not that she needed my help, but I knew at that time she needed help. You know, it was her and Bishop.
Right.
And you had the ministerial staff, but it was really those two
That was
who
it.
that were trying to hold the fort. Again, you're talking about the legendary Pilgrim Church.
Yeah.
Right. So it was honorable, but at the same time, I did have those moments where I was like, is this worth it?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
this worth it, Garelle? Are you making the right decision here?
Yeah.
You know, because then it was other pieces that came along with it. Like, I had to kind of ease up on the road.
Right.
You know, those are some requirements. that
Those
it was
were,
like, I was like,
yeah.
but
Those were
came
requirements.
after.
I was going to say those are
came
requirements
after.
that they really didn't say until you had the
Yeah.
role. And it was like, by
Yeah.
the way, we need you to pull up a little bit. Yeah. So
Yeah.
So definitely. But I love it because I think it's so
like,
it's so
whoa.
admirable, because I don't think people really realize that no matter how great you are, that there still needs to be a level of submission to your life.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things I think I learned from you in that experience was, it doesn't matter where you go, you still have to be submitted
Absolutely.
to someone.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what that experience taught me, because
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't know you that well when you came back, but I was like, I know what he's been doing. So to be able to just kind of, I don't want to say dumb yourself down, because what we did here by no means was small. But to take a step back and go, I'll do whatever you all ask me to do.
Not only did you not really know me at the time, you didn't like me either at that time. Remember that?
So let's, because now this is gonna be out, and I don't want your fan club to be in my. Now clear that up, because
GKS Network Community, be on standby.
So why do you think I didn't like you?
You know, I remember.
Somebody said something funny.
So I remember this conversation so vividly. I remember when Pastor Deb said to me, she said, well, you got to pick somebody to assist you. And I was sitting in her office, and I was like, an assistant? Okay, like, whatever. She was like, yeah, so get back to me with your assistant. Let me know who you feel, needs to assist you. Now, I can say this now. I purposely picked Emel Washington.
Right, because you knew my oil. Hey, Taman, Shako.
I didn't know your oil.
Oil is evident. Ta-ta,
I didn't know your oil. I knew my pettiness.
Let's not forget the part that she, before you came back, sort of briefed me that you were coming back. Like,
Yes.
hey, I need to talk to you. Garelle Solomon's going to be back. And I was
Yes.
like, oh.
Yes,
Okay,
I remember that.
I
I
don't
remember
know
you
him.
told me that sometime after that she briefed you.
Yeah.
And so when I mentioned your name, she literally asked me several times, was I sure? I was like, yeah, I could see the potential in him. I could, because at that time you was just a trustee.
I was
you
just
were
here.
directing the choir, or what have you. But I seen the potential. I knew something was there. That was my gift. That was my prophetic gift. That was, functioning at that time, right?
Cool.
So obviously it was on point.
Cool. Yeah, obviously. Obviously.
I literally I kept on sensing something is with this guy, and I really believe that he has the potential to really help me take this to the next level.
Yeah. I don't think I knew you well enough to not like you, but I think part of it, and this is the 10th year, I just want to get this stuff off my chest. Part of my life was a bit of resentment, because there were a whole bunch of young people who had served while you were gone and growing and figuring out and becoming. And I didn't understand the idea of them sort of not seeing us for you. You know what I mean? So I didn't mean to take anything out on you because honestly, I did not know you. But part of my wrestling was with resentment, not towards you, but towards them, because I was like, there were a bunch of people here who could have, before you came, I was the only youth speaker, right? Every youth Sunday, I was expediting, I was doing a whole bunch of stuff before you came, and then when you came, it was like, they saw stars, and it was like, okay, Garelle Solomon is here, and that felt weird to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that came off to you, but I don't think I was, I think I'm me. One of the things I'm becoming very, coherent about myself is that I'm a very guarded person, right? I think you've always told me that too. But at the same time, I'm very needy. And those two things don't go together. Like, I need people, but I'm also afraid to be connected, right? So that's also what I was wrestling with. I was wrestling with identity. I don't think it had anything to do with you. I was always, was I ever rude or, let's get, I'm ready, let's get it out. Was I impolite? I was really, oh, okay, all right.
It was a fight. I remember when we first started working together, we were always fighting. It was always something. It was just always something. But the thing that I loved about it, Emel, was we fought in those offices upstairs behind the closed doors. But when it was time to do what we had to do, I know that's called power. It's called power. When it was time to do what we had to do, we did it.
Yeah, we did.
We executed well, you know, and I think we were like so we started hearing we're like a Bishop and Deborah Crow again.
Yeah.
And because Bishop was this, you know, he wasn't good at administration.
Right.
But he was good at vision.
Yeah, and you weren't either.
I was not good at administration.
He would sit at tables, and I'm sure the people who work with him now are like, yes. He sit at tables, he had no idea what's going on.
Absolutely.
No idea what's going on.
You just come to the table and you just flow. It wasn't a whole, you didn't have nothing.
You don't believe in agenda? No
that's
agenda.
You.
Yeah. No agendas, no schedules, no outlines. I can't function like that. I need to know where we're going with conversation.
Oh my God, but that's how we learned that about each other.
Yeah.
And we appreciated it about each other, and we rode off each other's strengths in those areas. And I think that's what really started bringing us together. And also the other piece of, we were fighting to make this work.
Yep, that part.
We fought to make this vision work.
That part.
Tooth and nails. I mean, and that's, I believe, what started really drawing us, because we both had a passion for these young people. And for ministry.
Definitely.
And that was the piece that really started taking Garelle and Emel and going, wow.
Yeah, make it work.
Make it work.
It was always been, and still to this day for me, it's always been about the next generation.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I think I learned from you also is always think ahead.
Always.
Always think. That doesn't necessarily mean you have a plan, because it was not a plan, but we always did think ahead. And I think that's true. So we sit down, you sit down, they tell you this is going to happen, they make the announcement. We then have our first meeting at the table, right? Which you all, by the time this comes out, you would have already saw the table conversation. When you left that table, do you remember the table?
I do remember the table.
What was your hopes? What were your hopes for Fresh Fire? What did you hope would happen after that?
A lot of them were new to me.
Okay.
You know, most of the table, a great percentage of the table was new to me. And
as far as the people, you mean, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah. So of course they're like, all right, you know, who's this guy? Yeah. We heard of him because, you know, he done left or whatever, and abandoned ship, and now he's back on the ship. Yeah. So I felt like I had to prove myself.
Sometimes habits, you know, I thought you was gonna hit me. Sometimes habits just, you know, they die hard. No, let's stick on topic. Stay on topic. So you had to. That's so true. I've never heard you admit that. But
I had to.
You didn't know anyone at the table. I mean, besides my wife. Like
I knew your wife. I knew Fernando. I knew Andre. I always say Fernando. Yes, we grew up together for years and still say that boy's name wrong. I think I'm the only one that says his name wrong.
You are. Right? Don't think you are.
Fernando. It's dope, right?
It's Fernando.
Fernando.
Okay, cool. Let's move on. So what was your, what were you thinking? Go ahead, I didn't need to know. What were your hopes? Like, did you,
I just literally was like, man, I really see something great here happening.
Right,
and
yeah.
I just need you guys to just, strap up your boots because
Yep.
this is going to be a journey.
Yep. I remember you saying that.
Yeah, I kept saying we got to strap our boots because this is not going to be easy.
Yeah.
This is not going to be easy. You have to remember, I was now in a position of warring between tradition and this new wave. And a great percentage of the church was very.
Man, that's so true.
I've been given a baton in a very awkward, weird timing. And I think a lot of times people didn't see that piece like, whoa, this is not the 1990s where Bishop Dev was youth pastor, or 1980s where it was, one way. There was no technology, there was no LED walls, there was no lights, there was none of that.
Bro, that's so interesting because the truth of the matter is we were right in the brink of the church figuring out that they couldn't do things. And I don't mean our church, I mean
The church
the
at
entire
large.
church.
Absolutely.
I've never even put that together,
Absolutely.
but we were.
We were literally dead in the center of literally that switch, trying to figure out, okay, what's next? How do we embrace this new? So the baton was given to me in a very awkward time, and now I have to try to get a group of young people that I see potential in to see this new light that they probably have not seen because all they knew was Pilgrim Church light.
Yeah.
And come on, we Pilgrim. So here at Pilgrim, the truth of the matter, whether we want to admit it or not, is it's one way at Pilgrim. And I get it, and I understand it, and I appreciate it to this day. I'm 39 now, and I appreciate I appreciate all that was instilled into me, but I also know some of the pieces that don't work for me, right? So I'm trying to prove to these young people, hey, I see a leader in you. And they're still trying to look at themselves going, why did you choose me? Why did I come in at this? Why am I here at the table? Or whatever. And now trying to push this big vision in a space where it's like, it's limited.
Yeah.
It was limited. So I'm like, man. And there were days I kept saying to myself, I think I made a mistake. I promise there were days, you heard, I vented to you always.
Yeah.
And I would go, y'all would think I was dragging it. Remember that?
Yeah, no. But I apologize to you for that. Because there were days when I'm like, Jarrell's being too sensitive. And it wasn't until I assumed a seat and I said, oh, it's just quite accurate. What he was feeling was quite accurate.
It was accurate.
Yeah, it was.
It was.
But I think you for that time did a tremendous job, honestly.
Wow, thank you.
I
I
never told you that.
I gotta pocket this because I don't get this a lot. But go ahead.
I think for that time.
Oh, okay.
For the short time you did serve. We're gonna get to that, y'all. I know that's what y'all waiting for. But for the short time you did serve, I think that you really did a tremendous job at rallying the troops. And one of the things I didn't realize that you were doing, but I prided myself, is it was always about cultivating the leaders under me.
Yep.
Right? And I realize now that you're saying that I got that from you. It was always about cultivating leadership underneath you. So we've been through a lot together. And before it even happened, when it did happen, we had the first service. What do you remember about the first service? The very first service?
I remember it was enormous. It was like, this is it. We are really about to make history in Pilgrim. I remember, man, you remember how the Fresh Fire Choir took up this whole choir stand.
Yep.
Like literally, we took up this whole choir stand. Church was full. It's the first youth service, after many years. Like this is really gonna be big, right?
Yeah.
And we had so much hope that night. We left we came encouraged.
And a lot of souls. Remember how many souls?
The altar was full that night.
And for me, it was the first time I had seen preach word and demonstration.
Yeah.
In the way that you did it. And that's also something. Wait, there's a lot of stuff going on that you may have helped.
Hallelujah.
Y'all don't put this one on camera.
Hallelujah.
Don't put this part on. But there's a lot of like.
Why not? I'm perplexed of why you wouldn't want to put that on camera.
But that was the first time when you. I remember the demonstration. It wasn't the best, but it also opened. No, you know what I mean. It was a little confusing, but what it did was it opened that desire to like, yeah, work can be, in demonstration.
illustrated.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. And there was a lot of, I remember one of the things and that's when Bishop and them were sold, was how many people came to
Absolutely.
the altar. I want to say,
I remember.
what is it?
I remember we had 51 people on the altar, 51 young people on the
51
altar.
young people.
That's right.
And in the midst of that, and this is going to sound like nothing, there were young people who were rededicating themselves.
Absolutely.
And I thought that to be even more powerful.
That was the piece. It was like, that's it right there.
Yeah.
So we came in encouraged and left discouraged.
Okay, so listen, let's do this. What are some of your favorite memories?
Oh man, some of my favorite memories of Fresh Fire. I think for me, I love the meetings. It was just the meetings for me, because our meetings, a lot of stuff came out in those meetings. It was just like, we would say stuff in the meetings that we could not say, of course, in front of regular people. But those meetings, man, used to really, and I think another one for me was, we did a skate party.
Yes.
Remember the skate party that we hosted?
Yep.
All the way in Long Island. Something happened though. I can't remember what happened out in Long Island. Oh, no, I think for me it was the bus with Harold.
Yeah, we always had bus issues.
It was the bus with Harold.
It was,
Because we
didn't know.
outside waiting to go to Six Flags.
That one too. But even for the
freshmen.
skate trip, the bus was like late. We didn't know if it was coming. We talked about Six Flags also, where we were in the middle of the street on Central Avenue, like, oh wait, is that a bus? Oh, that must be our bus. And the bus would just ride past us.
For hours.
We had no bus. Yeah.
I don't think we got to the park until around like 4 o'clock that afternoon.
It was late. It was late. And Bishop had to, Pastor Bishop now had to buy everyone's ticket for where
That's
we were
right.
going.
That's
just gave
right.
us a credit card, like, just get everybody a ticket.
That's
Let's just
right.
go to Six Flags.
That's right. We had some very interesting moments in Fresh Fire.
Yeah. But fun moments.
It was fun.
It was fun. We had a lot of fun.
It was
a lot of laughing.
fun, absolutely. And I think our services in the back were, for me, the best services.
But let's walk over here too, because in the midst of us being shuffled all around, right?
Man, we were being shuffled.
One of the places that we had service was in what we know as the overflow.
Overflow room.
And this is also the creative mind of Solomon, where he had, you had put cloth around
Yes.
audio, what do you call it? Audio.
It was soundproof. It was soundproof material. It was soundproof
and
boards.
Had put that stuff all the way here so that
That's
you
right.
couldn't
We
see.
blocked off.
We had a staged platform built.
That's right.
And even in the midst of all of this, I remember this was packed.
That's right. We
And-
packed this area out.
Yeah.
But do you remember? Oh, this is a good one. When I did that, when I took that material and we put it around the soundboards, afterwards, everybody's like, this is so dope. But it was afterwards that people don't remember or don't know. Bishop Deb said, who told you to put that cloth on them boards?
Yeah.
I was like, Pastor, we had to do something. We had to
you had
make
to change
it
it
look
around.
like, we had to change it. And I said, I'll take the heat. We had to change it.
Yeah, and we had Fresh Fire rehearsal. We had Fresh Fire service after rehearsal.
Don't do it.
And then we were over here having service while the musicians was over there.
having rehearsal.
But nothing stopped us from churching.
Nothing. We kept going. I remember remember the Muppets? We introduced
had
the Muppets.
Yeah, we had a
It was
children's
funny,
corner.
But there was a children's corner.
Yeah, Andre
Couch
and
talk.
Talisha and Couch Talk was a thing, yeah.
Couch talk was a thing, and it was just something. So we took this area because we were being, like you said, we were just being switched around, and we went with it. Of course, we were like, why are we being switched around like this?
Yep.
But we went with it, and wherever we was placed, we made it work.
We made it work.
And
And that has been a running thing for Fresh Fire, is we have always just made it work.
We made it work.
And we've always been consistent, and people
Absolutely.
have always stuck with. What about when we had, I don't know where this came, but when we had the game where you had people diving for
The apples.
No, gummy bears and whipped cream.
Oh, and we.
No, not we. Wait, hold on. For the record, I had nothing to do with that. When I tell you I had never seen Bishop and Archbishop and Bishop that angry, it was just,
I mean,
they were angry.
angry. They
What was
were
the game for? I was
angry.
like, I don't even really
They
know.
were
I think I sort of
angry.
spaced out. I don't even know why.
They were. All I remember is after that service, I received a text from Pastor Deb, from Bishop Deb. I mean, the text was so long.
Yeah. And you know how she texts with caps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you with the whole caps and like you can hear her yelling in the messages, and she was like, "What would possess y'all to do such?"
Everything is y'all and we and
because we were a team. You have
only when you was getting in trouble, but when when you was getting your name on the letterhead and stuff, that was a you thing. When you had your own mic and your own seat, that was a you thing. But when it came
about that?
Don't remind me. When it came to issues, we was a team. That ain't how it worked.
Emel used to sit behind me.
Never.
You did, because I said something
Lord,
about it.
I pray right now that
I said
that
something
you
about
touch
it.
I sat in the audience. You sat up there. One day we did when I had to minister. Yes, on those Sundays, because there was a while. I don't know if people remember this, but there was a while where you had a Sunday, I had a Sunday, Archbishop had a Sunday, and then Bishop had a Sunday.
Yep, that's right.
That I did, but before you were,
that? Yeah, you were.
I remember. I'm telling you, I remember. I have nightmares about how
Remember
they
you
treated
had
me
to bring me my gold cup for communion?
Yeah. What else? What else you want to know? What else you need? You need everybody else? What you know? Yeah. He had his own communion cup, his own chair. Get off me. His own mic. He had all that good stuff.
I didn't ask
and
for
little
this.
Emel, who working hard now, I was in the audience. That's not true. That's true or false? That's true or false?
It was true.
Okay, good. Okay.
That's true. I would admit that's true. But I didn't ask for that stuff.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool.
Do you have a gold cup now?
I don't want to put my business. Don't do that in front of all these people.
You gotta go.
So listen, that was some of the good times, right? That's all great
Yeah,
stuff. We
literally.
changed. We had. What about when we recorded that song?
Oh my God.
What was it? What
Fresh
was,
fire.
Nah. Was that when we recorded?
That's what we recorded, right?
If God be for us.
Yes. If God be for
He had created a
Yes.
makeshift recording studio in one of the rooms, and everybody's just crammed in this room. Everybody
right.
is just singing. These were some of the most
Yes.
amazing things. This is what
Yes.
Fresh Fire is built on. We were always together. We were
Yep.
always working brand new
Yep.
ideas.
We made it work.
We made it work.
We
had
made it work.
Newsletters.
That's right.
Remember the newsletter we
remember
had?
the newsletters. And
what
they told me
else?
to stop writing and stop sending because I wasn't spelling stuff right.
Yeah, that still happens. You all have not helped him with that yet. He's a prophet, but he can't spell. But how many times we had to get approvals of those things too?
Okay, pause.
You want to cut?
I still can't believe we went through this. We had to approve every flyer, had to go through approval. But how about when I said I wanted you to start preaching?
What about it?
Remember they was like, no.
I told you I had a hard time here. But God knows.
I was like, why?
God knows my heart.
I said, I was like, you started preaching in my place because I had to travel.
That's exactly how it happened.
That's when they told me, you got to come off the road. And I'm like, but because they were my spiritual parents and I love them, I started easing up or whatever. But I didn't.
I remember you building a schedule around them.
Oh, what a way to put this. What a way to put this. What a
No,
nice
I
way
wanted
to
this
put
because
this.
you know when I don't tell the truth, I don't sleep well.
What?
Everybody
Well,
can't
that
get
must be every night then.
everybody can't get away with just not telling the truth. You eased up, but there was a lot of okay. You need me here on Sunday, so I'll be here for morning service, but then I'll rush out to take a flight to. Yeah,
Very
bro,
true.
I remember.
That's very
You
true.
would be here, and then you would rush out to take a flight to Florida almost every week for a while.
That's very true.
Yeah. But on top of that, we don't want you to think that. Not you, people were watching and listening, that we didn't have a good time. We had an amazing
time.
We had an amazing time. But what were some of the difficulties that what were some of the difficulties?
Man, I think some of the difficulties was literally, generally, bluntly, just being organically us.
Yeah.
I think, our vision. So we come from a spiritual father whose vision was always ahead of his time.
I think so.
And we duplicated that.
Yeah.
All we were doing was
think so.
actually duplicating what we seen.
Right.
Vision ahead of our time, or what have you. And so a lot of our difficulties came in because I think they were concerned about the older crowd. I think we had a lot of wrestling with that.
Okay.
The older
Okay.
crowd. and what they would think.
And I think that's fair because a lot
fair.
of people like you and I, we don't think about that.
That's
I know
very
I don't
true.
put enough thought into that.
That's
So,
very
yeah.
true. So we understood, and we had to kind of go back and kind of reroute.
Yeah.
A lot of things we had to reroute actually.
Okay.
Because it had to go through approval, which we were good with. We were okay with getting things approved because it wasn't our church at the end of the day. Remember that we were told it's not our church.
Okay, go ahead, move to your point. Because you're gonna be at excelling, and I'm gonna be here. So you ain't gonna get me. Go ahead.
And we understood that. But I think the difficulty came in us really striving to get them to see the potential.
The potential and the need for something
and the
new.
needs for something new.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
And we were pushing hard for that. We were striving hard for that. And I don't think it's that they didn't understand us. I think that they probably would never admit this, would have never admit this. They were also afraid.
Afraid of.
Afraid of this new transition and new wave.
Okay.
And how to adjust to it and how to adapt to it. Because Bishop Deb always was one that was like, let's do something different. She was always for that. But I think a lot of times she wanted to make sure that our dad was pleased. And that's okay, and I get that. I totally understand that. Because, this was his vision. And I think that the struggle came in with us really just striving to be authentically us and they receiving, some of the things that we put on the table.
Yeah, I think one of the key things in life too is vision must be forward.
Yeah,
moving.
it always must be forward thinking.
You can't really have vision for only the past.
Yeah.
That's probably where we bumped the most. We had the most issues. Was like we don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
We want to move forward in some type of way.
Yeah, I think that was something that we always was aiming for.
Yeah. So let's get to the meat. So how long were you? You were here for? I want to say 2 years.
Oh, stop it, Emel.
No, I don't mean. I mean you did Fresh Fire for longer than that.
I came back in 2010. I left around 2016. When did you take over?
I took over in 2016.
Right. So I came back in 2010, and I left in 2016.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
but the overlap is even though you had stepped aside from Fresh Fire, you still were here for a while.
I had stepped aside from Fresh Fire. I was still here for a little while. Yep.
So that was a big deal for a while.
It was a big deal. It was a huge
not just you
deal.
leaving Pilgrim. We'll get to that, but you feel uncomfortable. The safe word is no. So
Pineapples.
you say the safe word, and I'll let you go.
Pineapple.
So I don't, and I the reason why, and people always would say to me, why don't you address it? The truth of the matter is him and I, we had plenty of conversations.
Absolutely.
About you resigning,
Absolutely.
about you not wanting to be involved. So there was no need for me to publicly declare because we had conversations.
Yeah.
But for those who don't know those conversations, you did resign from Fresh Fire. What led to that decision? And can we sit?
Absolutely.
What led to
this
that
is
decision? And
man, I'm glad we're talking about this so we can clear the air as
finally.
to what that looks like finally. When I resigned from Fresh Fire, it was through much prayer. And you remember you and I were having these conversations.
Yeah.
Can I sit on this side and you sit on this side?
it's better lighting.
Yeah. I need them to see my good side. Thank you.
Now we're gonna go into the serious stuff. Okay, go for it.
So it was for me, we had these conversations behind the scenes for a while.
Yeah.
They didn't know that,
Yep.
but you and I did. And it was one, seriously, I remember when I came back home, I remember talking to Pop in the office upstairs. And his exact words to me was, son, you're not coming to stay. And I was just like, what? Like, I'm back home. No, like I could see where this is going. Like, no. He said to me, you're not coming to stay. He said, God will release you again. I didn't understand that clearly until the latter part of resigning when I couldn't sleep. Remember, I kept saying this to you, like,
remember,
bro,
yeah.
Every Sunday
It was. I
came.
would honestly describe it as like torment.
Yes.
You were honestly being tormented
Yes.
in the role because I think you felt like, well, I don't. Whatever. What you tell us what.
Yeah, I mean, because you know, I literally, it was like a tormenting type of situation because each week it seemed like it just got worse. I mean, I love coming home. I love coming to my church, and I love being here. But for me, it was becoming more of a burden.
Yeah. And not necessarily because of the place.
Right.
But because of the
Absolutely.
person. Well, and a lot of people who might be listening to you might feel uncomfortable in a space right now, but it doesn't have to be the space.
Yeah,
When you
yeah.
outgrow something,
outgrow
it's
something.
you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part people didn't realize. It wasn't us.
It wasn't us.
It was not the youth department.
That's right. It wasn't Bishop Deb. It wasn't Bishop. It was none of them. You okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
It was none of them. It was just I started outgrowing it, and it was hard for me to admit that because I loved them so much and I didn't want to disappoint them. And I remember saying this to you, I don't know how to say this to them because I love them. I don't want to disappoint them, right? But it came to a point where God was like, hey, you're getting ready to miss a window that I'm calling you through if you consistently be loyal to this. Sometimes we can be more loyal to people than,
To the call and to the
call.
purpose.
Right.
But did I in any way counsel you out of your seat?
No, not at all.
So
No.
I didn't
As a matter of
push.
fact,
I didn't
not
push.
at all.
Yeah.
I remember when I started telling you, like, I'm passing it to you. You fought with me.
Hello. Can you say that part
Yeah,
again?
you fought with me. You definitely fought with
It
me.
was a
I
wrestle.
remember clearly, vividly. I had first conversation with you, and I was like, Emel, I'm gonna pass it to you. And you were like, no, bro, no, no.
Is that
If
how
you
I sound?
resigning, then a whole new crew got to be put in place. No, you're not gonna leave me here like this. No.
Is that my voice? Is that how I sound to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Definitely. Literally.
But that was a narrative that I dealt with for a long time. It was like there were people who were actually saying that I had somehow manipulated.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Not at all. Actually, the first 3 times that he said to me he wanted to resign, I sort of talked him out of it.
That's right.
Not because I wasn't qualified to do it,
That's
but
right.
because I felt the need for him to be where he needed to be, and that was just that.
That's
so
very
in
true.
no way, we're clearing
way.
this up in the 10th
No way.
year. There was no way
way.
that I manipulated
No
myself.
way.
and-
We wrestled with that.
Yeah.
I was wrestling with resigning. You were wrestling with taking over.
Yeah.
So we both were wrestling.
I was wrestling with running away, not taking over.
Oh.
My wrestling was I wanted to run away.
I do remember you saying you wanted to run away.
We don't share private conversation.
I do remember that conversation. But I mean,
So
it
after
was,
much prayer and just a matter of you just outgrowing,
Outgrowing.
not really the place, but the position.
Yeah, I've outgrown the position because this home could always call me. Bishop know that, and I always state that to y'all. Like, y'all can call me at any given day. I'm going to drop what I'm doing and run home because it's home and I love home. But I outgrew the assignment here. And I knew that and I
What does
always,
outgrowing the assignment? What does
what
that feel like?
What does that feel like? When you are now, it's one. So there was always a flow for Fresh Fire.
Okay.
Whether it be a message, whether it be a series, whether it be whatever that was, there was always a flow. I started losing my flow with Fresh Fire. So now I had to start conjuring up something to do each week.
Wow.
I had to start conjuring
Is
up
flow
messages.
the same as passion? Or different?
I would say it's a little different.
Okay.
And have some difference to it because you can have a passion, you can still have the passion, but you don't have the flow because again, you're outgrowing a place. And sometimes people are outgrowing a place that they don't realize they're outgrowing and they're kind of confuse that with something else.
Yeah.
And it's really you just outgrowing a place,
Right.
outgrowing an assignment,
Right.
Or what have you. So
Man, that's so good.
yeah, like
That's
it
so
was
good.
it
And
was
so honest to just say, hey, I love this space, but this space may not love me anymore.
Absolutely.
Right? And I'm a firm believer, and I think this is probably one of the things we differ on is I don't think without passion you can produce.
That's good.
My prayer to God is, God, don't ever leave me in a place with just a position without passion.
that's good.
How do you produce without passion?
That's good.
You sort of get into the habit and like just like a regular, this is what I'm supposed to do on a Sunday morning. I never want to be in that space. So I think that
Well,
is
I think
so
you'll
honest.
begin to operate out of passion when you begin to do that. you more so operate out of gift more than passion now.
Wow. Yeah,
so
yeah,
now
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
your gift that's really,
Yeah, yeah.
you know
And
how
you
to
need
do
both,
this.
right?
Yeah, and you need both.
I think you need both.
really, really need both. You need a
Right.
percentage of both. And when you're just operating out of gift, it becomes boring.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
yeah,
becomes
yeah, yeah.
dry. It becomes like another day at a job that I don't want to go to.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I had the passion somewhat, and then that started going.
Okay.
That started leaving. Once that started going, I knew like, okay, I'm treading on dangerous grounds now.
Yeah.
Like,
Did you leave with the intention of starting a church?
no.
Okay.
I did.
That's something I think that people
Yeah,
don't understand.
I had no intentions on starting a church. As a matter of fact, my conversation with Bishop was, I don't know what God is doing. I said the Lord did show me a vision, and I'm still unsure if this is what the Lord is leading me to do. And I did say to her, I said on Thursday nights I'm going to have gatherings. I was really looking at worship gatherings. That's literally what I was aiming for. I didn't know this was the magnitude. I didn't know excelling was coming out of this. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think if you had not stopped here, there would be an excelling
Not
still?
at all. Not at all. And if there was no excelling, all the lives that was attached to, you know, there are people that are attached to your assignment.
Okay.
And they cannot become until you embrace, receive, and fulfill your assignment or walk into your assignment.
Wow.
So those people that are attached to your assignment and you don't ever, if you don't begin to walk into that assignment, all they are sitting ducks.
Wow.
They're waiting because God attaches people to each person in the Bible.
Yeah.
You see that there's a generation of people he attached to each leader in the Bible. Joshua had Israel, Moses
Yeah.
had, right? So he attaches people. And if you don't walk into your assignment, where do those people go?
Yeah.
Right? So I don't think
And
there would
realizing
be
too
excitement.
that the plan of God is so much bigger than your feelings. Had
Way
you
bigger.
not heard God to move, where would I be?
Very true.
Had you not moved and I not been unlocked,
Mm-hmm.
where would the young people who are unlocked under me, where would they
And I
be?
also look at it as, you know, we said it over there earlier. I've always God has given me a gift to prepare the next. Like that's something that I'm big on. Like I've already stated, you know, by the time I'm 60, I'm done with pastoring because the new generation is on the scene.
And you'll be outdated.
And you're outdated. You're
They don't
outdated.
like that word, but yeah.
You're outdated.
You will be.
You'll be outdated. So you need someone. I mean, of course, I
And
still oversee.
outdated doesn't mean you're done.
You're done,
it
right? It
means
just
you
means-
should be shifting to another role, another
Absolutely.
position, another
Absolutely.
idea. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's wisdom. Though,
And that's why when I was here, I always did that. Like, if you notice, I always threw assignments on you. Or I always said, hey, let's use this one to do this. Like, let's throw some assignments on somebody. Because it was training grounds to actually prepare. I didn't know what was going on. I just
Right.
knew
Yeah, me
that
either. Yeah.
it can't be me. Others have to be developed to walk into the same potential I walked into.
Yeah.
So that's why when I left, when it started happening, for me, I felt peace.
Yeah. And it works double because you felt peace leaving and I felt peace finally stepping in. You know what I mean? And that's so weird, but it wasn't until I was in it, I was like, Pastor Solomon had to start this, but this was created for my moment.
Absolutely.
And had you not heard God, and that's one of the things I'm so afraid of, this being my last year with Fresh Fire, and people literally, I put a post up about it being my last year, and people in my inbox like, what are you going to be doing? Like, what do you think she's going to have? I'm like, I can't worry about that.
Absolutely.
There's a generation behind me that if
Absolutely.
I don't move, they can't do.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to be guilty of tying up an entire generation.
Yeah.
And I learned that from you. And also watching Bishop with transition. Bishop transitioned, he could have went on for another couple of
Absolutely.
years. He transitioned because it was the right time.
It was the right timing. It was the right, and I really believe that, and I pray that even through this, that leaders, not just pastors, whether it be corporate America, whether
Yes.
it be whatever type of leader you are, I
Yep.
pray that leaders of this now generation begin to understand the importance of future, also legacy.
Yes, sir.
Because legacy can die if you don't invest into future properly.
Yep. Everything you have worked on and for.
Literally, it can fade. your legacy, which could be so rich, can fade if you don't invest into future properly, because you're so adamant about continuing because you're so pompous and so proud and so this and so that.
And for some leaders, it's all they've known.
It's all they know.
Yeah.
It's all they've known.
And that's something that I teach the leaders here is don't just be good here. Do something outside of here.
Yes.
That's why most of the young people who come from here, they have businesses, 2 businesses, 3 businesses, because I need you to be okay. If we no longer do Fresh Fire, you still have to be able to exist outside of what we do. And that's something that's so key. Transition is something that's on my heart so heavy, I guess because I'm in the middle of transitioning. But just preparing a next generation.
How does that feel now that you're in the seat that I was in at that time?
No, I'm not though. It's a
how does that
very
feel?
different circumstance.
How does that feel? What do you feel?
Because I'm leaving with a plan in place. I sometimes felt like, and I've said this, nothing new. I sometimes felt like you sort of left me without a plan. But it also, crazily, it developed me. It made me figure it out.
You know, it's so funny you say that because even in excelling, I have a weird way of raising up. I'm that leader that says, watch me.
Yeah.
When I go up, you president, you know how that Elijah and Elisha situation went, right?
Yeah.
I didn't leave like a blueprint, but I left visuals, if that's such a thing,
Yeah, it makes
right?
sense.
Like, there were certain reasons why I would do certain things.
Yes.
Because I knew in a season to come, I won't be in this position no more. Emel would be.
Yeah.
And that's why
I think
there
that's
was
something that you've always said to me too, is you've always been
Yeah.
like, I think this is for you.
Yeah,
I think you'll be good at I think that's true.
I think I was just, the igniter.
You were my warm up. You was holding my.
I was holding. What do they call that? I was the opener.
Yeah,
I was your opener.
You was my opener.
But you're the main. You're the main.
Hello. This is when the prophetic come out. Now you're prophetic. If I've ever seen you be prophetic, now you are.
No, you're twins. Your job at Chase.
Yeah. All of that was true. Yeah.
He not my soul.
All right, cool. Let's wrap this up. So my last question to you, right, is Fresh Fire. You left Fresh Fire, but you were still here. How much did it hurt you to actually realize God was calling you away from home? Period.
Man, that's a good question. Because I think that's never been expressed. It's always been a thing of, oh, he just left.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But I think this is such a perfect time to hear that piece that in my heart of hearts, I didn't want to leave safety.
Okay.
This was my safe place. I think people don't realize that. Like, I even have a hard time coming back here a lot because...
Yeah, you tell me that all the time. People don't know that, but
like,
you do.
people don't know that. Like, it's not that I don't want to show up. It's multiple reasons other than, of course, Pop and my mom and my sisters passing that I walk in here and all I remember is that, right? But beyond that, when I walk in here, I'm like, man, it's my safe place, but I can't run to it like I used to. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm sure I have access to it, but
not
I
too much.
can't
But yeah.
get.
No, I don't want you to be confused. Go ahead. I hear your point. Go ahead. Be spiritual.
Now I'm gonna pull a Charles Reed and George Shorts on you. Let's not forget I'm the first son.
Yeah, Bishop Hudson said he's the youngest son of the argument. I said, well, what the heck? I was gonna have to use the bleep.
But I called you.
What?
And what did I say to you?
Yeah, you did.
What did I say to
I was
you?
like, that was interesting.
But what did I say to you? What?
Because here's the truth that people know. One of the last people that Bishop did lay his hands on was me.
Absolutely.
And one of the message that he gave to Bishop Pastor was, watch out for these two, my last sons.
That's right.
I don't get credit for.
That's so true.
I don't get a lot of credit for what I've been through or what I've accomplished or what I've done. But that's when you love God, all that stuff don't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can just be in
Yeah.
a fence and still operate.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to. Shouldn't have to operate in a fence.
But I mean, I can't say what I want to say because what I want to say will be on Larry Reed. But I will say that, but I think that's something that you need to highlight, though. That was one of the last things Bishop
I know.
said before he left here.
I remember.
That these two sons, these are my last two. And although I've been here,
Not last two sons, period. But like as far as ministry, pastoral type of
he
stuff.
put
and
his
what-
seal of approval on,
is very
basically. Right.
Very
So,
true.
you know, and I do want to say that I feel like you gotta be careful, but I do feel like, and I sense that more needs to be, you need to be honored for more because you have the mantle of Roy Brown. And in the sense of your commitment, your faithfulness, your diligence, your love, your compassion. Like one thing I could say about Emel Lamar Washington is that you literally love genuinely.
I do.
You love ministry. You love the people you lead. You don't misuse people. You don't just use them and throw them away. You genuinely love who God has assigned to work with you.
Yeah.
And you treat them. I've always watched you treat people, regardless of your position. You treat them all the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I think that that's one of the biggest highlights that we skip over and we miss. Because nowadays we live in a generation where it's just, I'm using you for what you can offer and what you can do. And after you finish doing it, I'm done with you, right? So
People need to abuse to be the leader in the space.
yeah,
It's not necessary.
Yeah.
We can be, you can lead alongside me and I still be the leader.
You can be the second man and still feel like you're the first, or treat it like you're the first, you know? And I want to commend you on that because you've done
appreciate
so well with being a prime example of what godly leadership looks like.
I appreciate
You know,
that.
you still got ways about you.
Don't ruin it though. So that was the nicest thing you probably ever said about me. Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it.
God, you know.
Don't ruin it. All right, let's wrap this up. Fresh Fire is going into this 10th year. What do you see prophetically? What is happening? Fresh Fire will be fine without me, right? What does your spirit stir up about? where Fresh Fire
I
is?
sense that you've done what I've done, and that is created the next generation to be ready for what's next. I think prophetically, what I do see happening with Fresh Fire is I see this generation of Fresh Fire. I might get in trouble for this, but hey, this generation of Fresh Fire actually becoming the now Pilgrim Church, if that makes sense. Not doing away with those that've been here or
Right.
laid the foundation, but this is going to be that season and that generation that now, as the baton is being passed, it's not just being passed within the youth, it's being passed generally within the house as well. So where you serve, it's the right timing that you're passing the baton, because now it's not only, again, for the youth, you got me, right? It's not only for the youth, it's for the entire house. And as the baton is being passed for the youth, it's also being passed for the actual house of Pilgrim. And this next generation of Fresh Fire will ignite the fire again.
Believe it. I believe that.
I mean the fire of old here in Pilgrim,
I believe it.
yet embracing the new.
Right.
So I think that you heard God clearly, even though you don't understand all the
Yes,
pieces
God.
right now.
Yeah.
You have heard God clearly, because there's still some pieces in your head you're trying to figure out, which you don't have to. Because as you obey God, all the pieces will fall in its proper places and spaces. And somewhere down the line, you will go, oh, God, now I see why. You know? So this next season here at Fresh Fire and Pilgrim is going to be very unique. It's going to be very, very
I believe
unique.
that. I really believe that.
Yeah. So I think that I know that you've moved in the right timing. You heard God. You heard God in Fresh Fire.
Are you surprised?
I am.
Yeah, you sound like very like.
I am.
you
I'm
have
very surprised.
You really heard God this time.
You know, when you sit close to the prophet, you know.
Where is it? Where is he? Where is he?
You know, you sit close to
okay.
me.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Look, we gotta get out of here because we could do this all day. We talk We talk. We don't talk often. I'm not gonna lie. I don't do lying.
Don't lie now.
When we do talk, it is always a great conversation. It's always much
Absolutely.
love. I don't know if we've ever said this or if you've ever felt this, but we appreciate all that you have done here,
thank you.
especially with the youth. If you had not come back, even though I didn't understand why or where or when, if you had not come back, I may have not been developed into the leader I am today. We love you and we appreciate your contributions to 10 years of Fresh Fire.
Thank you so much. I
All right,
love
we
you.
are okay. Thank you so much.
You see-
All right,
you
we
see
getting
the
out of here.
spirit? Such a spirit. He's such a spirit.
We getting out of here. No, I love y'all so much. Be sure to subscribe to the page, favor the app, favor the podcast. Do
All
that
right,
great
come on. I
stuff.
got a schedule.
We love you and we'll see you soon.